0517 local time. Steel shifts beneath the flight deck as the carrier moves through calm water at a steady pace. No swell, no weather, only a long gray horizon and the low mechanical rhythm of a ship that never truly rests. On the bridge, no one speaks. Inside the Combat Information Center, the first tone cuts through the quiet. Not loud, not rushed, just exact. New surface contact, then another, then 6 more, 8 in total. The radar display narrows its focus. Symbols appear across the screen in a wide, uneven arc, moving quickly, too quickly to be coincidence. Their courses are clean, controlled, and closing with purpose. The watch officer leans in, eyes fixed on the bearing readouts. No one reaches for a microphone. No one asks what it means. Condition 3 is set without a word. Key stations are filled, doors seal, hatches locked down. On the flight deck, the crew stops mid-motion. A tow tractor freezes in place. A yellow shirt raises one hand, then keeps it there, suspended in the cold morning air, waiting for the next signal. Aircraft sit ready and silent, noses pointed forward, canopies catching the pale light. In CIC, the range keeps falling. 30 nautical miles, 28, 26. 8 surface contacts are now inside the outer surveillance ring. Their speeds match, 27 knots and holding. Their spacing is too disciplined to be civilian, too deliberate to be accidental. This is formation movement. Track numbers update on their own. One contact shifts slightly left, another moves slightly right. The arc begins to tighten, not a direct approach, a net. The carrier holds course, speed unchanged, heading steady, no sudden turn, no visible reaction. At another console, an operator runs identification filters. Hull profiles begin to sharpen as the contacts draw closer. Angular silhouettes, tall superstructures, sensor masts that do not match patrol craft or support vessels. The room stays quiet while the system completes its work. Identification appears across the display. Russian Navy, 8 naval vessels. No radio call follows, no warning, no broadcast. The contacts continue closing in silence, their wakes cutting sharp white lines across the blue surface. On the bridge, the captain watches the horizon through reinforced glass. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. The ship is already doing exactly what it was built to do. Below, the 5-inch mount turns only a few degrees. Not onto a target, just enough to be noticed, just enough to be understood. Range drops to 21 nautical miles. One Russian vessel increases speed by 2 knots, another adjusts inward by half a degree. The formation begins to take shape. 2 forward elements, 6 trailing behind, all angled to compress the space ahead. This is not simple shadowing. This is convergence. The carrier's escorts hold position off the beam, spread wide and silent. No flares, no aggressive signals. Everything remains measured, controlled, deliberate. Inside CIC, the closest point of approach is calculated automatically. Too close. At this distance, one wrong move can turn pressure into impact. Close passes can become incidents. Incidents can become something far more serious. Still, there are no radio calls. The Russian ships are close enough now for visual confirmation. Gray hulls cut through the water. Naval flags snap in the wind. Deck crews appear as small figures against the steel. Their mounts are uncovered but unattended. A message without an open challenge. The carrier does not slow. Flight operations remain paused, not cancelled. Every move can still be reversed. Every option remains open. Below decks, a helicopter crew straps in. Rotors folded. Engines quiet. Waiting for a green light that has not come. Range, 16 nautical miles. The arc tightens again. 2 Russian ships angle ahead of the carrier's bow. 4 hold the flanks. 2 remain slightly astern, keeping pressure from behind. 8 ships, 1 carrier, no shouting, no loud alerts. Only data moving through the system, logged and time-stamped. Every bearing change is recorded. This is the point where posture matters more than power. The carrier holds her line. The sea remains calm, and the 8 warships continue closing. Not to engage, not to communicate, just to find out who gives way first. Range continues to fall. 15 nautical miles. 14. 13. The Russian formation sharpens as the distance closes. What began as a loose arc has become geometry, calculated, practiced, intentional. 2 lead ships move forward on diverging angles, not to cross the carrier's bow, but to narrow the space available ahead of her. The remaining 6 slide into place behind them, spacing even, speeds matched. This is not escorting, this is containment. Inside the Combat Information Center, track histories scroll automatically. Every course correction is stored. Every speed change is marked to the second. The system does not guess, it records. The carrier holds 20 knots. No deviation, no weave, no sudden change. A junior watchstander calls out what everyone can already see. His voice stays flat and professional. Contacts are splitting into 2 elements. No one answers. Everyone already knows. On the bridge, the horizon still looks calm. Blue water, clear sky. Nothing on the surface suggests the pressure building below. But inside the tactical picture, the space is tightening minute by minute. 12 nautical miles. One Russian ship on the starboard side edges slightly ahead of the formation. Its bow wave grows thicker as speed increases. Not enough to provoke, just enough to apply pressure. Another ship mirrors the movement on the port side, keeping the carrier centered. A corridor is forming, narrow, deliberate. The carrier's escorts adjust station with care, widening their arcs without moving directly toward the Russian ships. They do not challenge them. They do not fall back. They remain exactly where they are supposed to be. Visible, capable, silent. No targeting radars activate, no signal flares rise. The 5-inch mount remains slightly offset, a reminder rather than a warning. Range drops to 10 nautical miles. At this distance, bridge crews on both sides can see faces through binoculars. Deck crews pause near railings, watching a ship larger than anything they will ever command. Still, there is no radio traffic. The Russian ships maintain silence, and that silence is deliberate. It hides intent while increasing pressure. It forces every movement to be interpreted. Inside CIC, the electronic warfare console flickers as a low-power search radar sweep brushes across the carrier. Not a lock, not a direct challenge, just a touch. Enough to say, we see you. The signal is logged. Frequency, duration, source. Nothing else changes. 9 nautical miles. The 2 lead Russian ships ease closer, trimming the carrier's forward space. They do not cross her path. They do not force a sudden maneuver. They simply hold their positions, shaping the water ahead of her. The carrier's helm remains steady. On the flight deck, the hold signal stays raised. Aircraft remain secured. Pilots wait in their cockpits, oxygen flowing, eyes forward. Everyone understands how delicate the moment is, and no one rushes it. 8 ships now define the space around the carrier. Their formation is balanced, disciplined, and practiced. This is not emotional, it is procedural. Inside CIC, the closest point of approach recalculates. Closer. Too close for comfort. Still within limits, still controllable. 8 nautical miles. The Russian ships adjust again. Small turns, fractions of degrees, just enough to tighten the pattern without closing it completely. They are testing reactions, not forcing contact. The carrier gives them nothing. No course change. No speed change. No radio challenge. This restraint is not hesitation. It is posture. At 7 nautical miles, one Russian ship turns just enough for its forward mount to come into clearer view. The system remains still. The message is visual, not operational. The moment is logged. The carrier's escorts remain poised. Their systems stay quiet. Their sensors alert. Everything is happening in plain sight. This is pressure applied with calculation, not force. 6 nautical miles. The space is now compressed. Any unexpected turn would ripple through the formation within seconds. Any misjudgment would be seen by satellites, aircraft, and analysts far beyond the horizon. The carrier continues straight through the center of the net. Not defiant, not yielding, unchanged. No words are exchanged, no flags are raised, no horns sound, only steel, water, and intent, drawing tighter by the minute. And one question hangs in the silence. Which side will move first? At 6 nautical miles, the picture stabilizes, not because the pressure eases, but because the response has already begun. No announcement is made, no alarm sounds. The carrier does not change course or speed. From the outside, nothing appears different. But beneath the surface, a shift is already underway. Quiet, layered, deliberate. Inside the Combat Information Center, additional tracks appear above the formation. Not new contacts, assets already in the air, now repositioning. Their transponders remain dark. Their presence is implied, not advertised. A helicopter crew receives the signal they have been waiting for. Rotors unfold, engines spool, deck crew move with practiced efficiency. No wasted motion. The aircraft lifts cleanly from the deck and settles low over the water, nose pointed toward the narrowing corridor ahead. No dramatic climb, no sharp turn, just forward movement, controlled and calm. The Russian ships hold formation as the helicopter approaches. At first, there is no reaction. Then come the small signs. Heads turn on deck, courses are checked, speeds shift slightly, not enough to break alignment, but enough to acknowledge a new variable. This is not a display of force, it is a statement of awareness. Back in CIC, the electronic warfare team moves from passive collection to focused observation. No interference, no disruption, just listening. Precise, patient. A second low-power radar sweep brushes the carrier. Again, not a lock. Again, logged. Pattern confirmed. The data tells its own story. Curiosity mixed with caution. The carrier's escorts adjust station by yards, not miles. Their movement is almost invisible to the eye, but clear on the tactical display. Lanes open, angles change, the geometry shifts without breaking apart. This is counter-pressure without escalation. 5 nautical miles. The helicopter holds steady just above the wave tops, moving along the inside edge of the Russian formation. It does not cross bows. It does not hover over decks. It simply stays where it can be seen. Close enough to be undeniable. Far enough to remain professional. Sensors turn, cameras record, everything is time-stamped. On the Russian ships, deck crews gather near the railings, binoculars follow the aircraft. A forward mount shifts slightly, then stops. No elevation, no tracking, just movement. Inside CIC, a quiet understanding passes between the watch officers. They are reacting. The carrier remains the constant in the equation. 4 nautical miles. One Russian ship on the port flank eases off by half a knot. The change is barely visible. Seconds later, another ship on the opposite side mirrors the reduction. The symmetry breaks. Not enough to look like withdrawal, enough to show calculation. The helicopter slides forward, holding its position ahead of the carrier's bow, just inside the corridor the Russian ships tried to shape. It does not block. It observes. The escorts remain wide, silent guardians, their sensors feeding the same picture into the same network. Every platform sees what the others see. No single ship carries the moment alone. This is system-level control. 3.5 nautical miles. The Russian formation hesitates. It does not stop. It does not turn away. But it no longer tightens. The inward drift pauses. Small rudder checks ripple through the line as each ship works to maintain spacing without pressing closer. Inside CIC, the closest point of approach updates again. Wider, not by much, enough to matter. The carrier continues straight ahead, unwavering. No flares, no warnings, no raised voices, only presence, layered and patient. The helicopter banks slightly, presenting its profile clearly to every ship in the formation. It carries no visible armament. It does not need to. Its value is in what it sees and what it records. Every second it remains overhead adds weight to the moment. The Russian ships keep their mounts inactive. Their radars remain controlled. The silence continues. This is the hinge point. Pressure has met resistance. Not steel against steel. Discipline against discipline. One side is no longer advancing the equation. The net that had been tightening now holds. And in that stillness, the balance begins to shift. The formation does not collapse. It loosens. The change is subtle enough that an untrained eye would miss it. No sharp turns, no sudden loss of speed. Just small adjustments, measured and deliberate, moving through the Russian line. Inside the Combat Information Center, the shift is immediate. Track spacing increases by tens of yards. Speed differences appear where there were none before. Vectors that once converged now hold steady. The closest point of approach updates again. Wider, still close, no longer closing. At 3 nautical miles, the geometry that once defined containment begins to weaken. One Russian ship on the starboard flank eases off its line by a single degree. Another compensates a moment too late, overshooting its mark before correcting. The symmetry breaks again, not dramatically, but enough. The helicopter remains in position, steady and visible. Its sensors keep watching. It does not follow the shift. It does not need to. The record is already complete. On the carrier's bridge, the horizon looks unchanged. Calm water, clean sky. No clear visual sign that the balance has shifted, but the math has. The carrier holds course. The escorts maintain station, neither tightening nor falling back. Their presence remains constant, reassuring, patient. They do not rush the moment, they let it happen. 2.5 nautical miles. The Russian lead ship trims speed again, this time by more than a fraction. The wake behind it softens, spreading wider across the surface. A second ship mirrors the move seconds later. Now the adjustment is unmistakable. No one speaks over the radio. No signal is exchanged. The decision is being made without words. Inside the Combat Information Center, the watch officer marks the timestamp. The moment when pressure stops building. The moment intent shifts from closing space to preserving control. Another update flashes across the display. Closest point of approach now expanding steadily. The helicopter banks once, slow and controlled, then returns to its parallel track. It does not move closer. It does not fall back. Its work is done simply by being there. At 2 nautical miles, the Russian formation no longer shapes a corridor. Gaps appear where none existed before. The rear elements begin drifting outward, opening space behind the carrier instead of sealing it. This is not a retreat. This is disengagement. The difference matters. A retreat is reactive. Disengagement is calculated. The carrier continues through the center of the loosening formation without changing course. It does not chase the opening. It does not use the moment to press harder. It simply proceeds. The sea remains flat. The air remains still. Only the wakes tell the story. One Russian ship breaks alignment by a full degree. then another. Then a third follows, widening the arc. The net that once surrounded the carrier now stretches thin, its tension slowly releasing. Inside the Combat Information Center, no one celebrates. There is no visible relief, no dramatic reaction. This is not triumph, it is resolution. The helicopter begins a gradual climb, gaining just enough altitude to show that its role is ending. It remains in sight but no longer holds the center of attention. The Russian ships answer in kind, making subtle course changes that increase separation without openly signaling withdrawal. No flags are lowered, no messages are sent, no statements are made. On the carrier's flight deck, the signal comes to prepare for resumed operations. The chains remain in place for the moment, but the posture changes. Pilots relax slightly, hands still near the throttles. Deck crew begin moving again, measured and controlled, 2 nautical miles. The Russian lead ship adjusts away from the carrier's bow. Not sharply, just enough to remove itself from the forward arc. Another ship follows, then another. The sequence unfolds without urgency. Inside the Combat Information Center, the tactical picture clears. 8 tracks remain present. None are closing. All are slowly opening distance. The carrier passes through the space that had been restricted only minutes earlier. Her path is open again. The escorts hold their lines, maintaining separation and keeping the picture clear. The moment stretches. Then it passes. This is how it ends. Not with a dramatic turn, not with a public declaration, but with a quiet acknowledgement that the calculation has changed. The Russian ships do not run, they choose to disengage. And the carrier never changes course to make them do it. The carrier does not look back. As distance grows, the Russian ships remain visible on radar. Then they are only shapes near the horizon. Then only symbols fading at the edge of the tactical display. Their courses separate gradually, disciplined even as they move away. No sudden turns, no pursuit, just space returning to the sea. On the flight deck, operations resume. Chains come off, hands signal, engines spool. One aircraft inches forward, then another. The rhythm of routine returns without ceremony. What paused only minutes ago continues as though nothing unusual happened. Below decks, the logs are finalized. Every bearing change, every speed adjustment, every radar sweep. Nothing is interpreted, nothing is dramatized. The record speaks for itself. Inside the Combat Information Center, the posture eases from heightened readiness back into watch. Screens remain active, sensors stay alert, but the pressure is gone. The picture is clean. The helicopter returns to the deck, rotors slowing as it settles into place. No applause, no commentary. The crew unstraps and moves on to the next task. The footage it gathered is already archived, time-coded, and stored across multiple systems. It may never be released. It does not need to be. The escorts maintain formation, quietly sliding back into their standard screen. Their spacing returns to doctrine. Their role remains unchanged. They never moved to confront, they never had to. This is what control looks like. Out on the water, the Russian ships hold their distance. Their formation loosens further, no longer centered around the carrier. They are still present, but they are no longer shaping the space. The encounter is over, not because someone won, but because nothing more needed to happen. The carrier continues on its planned track, speed steady, heading unchanged. To anyone watching from far away, it is just another gray hull moving across an empty ocean. But inside the ship, the meaning is understood without being spoken. 8 warships closed in, no weapons were used, no course was changed. The outcome was not decided by raw capability. It was decided by posture, timing, and restraint. By a system that did not rush, did not flinch, and did not give up control of the moment. This is not the kind of encounter that fills headlines. There are no dramatic scenes, no visible damage, no official declaration. And yet, it will be studied. Not for what happened, for what did not happen. The data will be reviewed, the formations will be analyzed, the decision points will be examined by officers and analysts who measure outcomes in margins and minutes. Every silent choice will be weighed against every option left unused. Because this is how modern naval power is often exercised, not always through action, but through the discipline to hold action in reserve. The sea returns to normal. The horizon stretches wide and empty once again. The carrier moves forward unchanged, its wake dissolving into the blue behind it. Somewhere beyond that horizon, 8 warships continue their patrols, having tested a boundary and found it still intact. No flags were lowered, no words were exchanged, only a quiet understanding carried away across the open water. 8 warships closed in. Then this happened.